Greetings, everyone. Sophisticated Intuition here with Heal Out Loud. I've got one of my good friends, Lynette, on with us today to talk about a very heavy topic of grief. So we're just going to get into that discussion. And Lynette I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I think I came in maybe at the end, and I love to see where you are now. But I'd love for you to just share with us that experience. Take us through what that was like for you grieving.
So thank you, Tika. And so I just want to say thank you for being a part of that journey. Listen, you got me out.
Oh, I've got
but no,
my tissues ready.
I know, right? But no, I really do want to say thank you because you helped a lot through that journey, and not just me, but you helped, a lot of my family members that experienced that journey with me. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I don't take any credit for it. You all did all the work, but it was a blessing to be a part of that.
Yeah. So I experienced obviously some back-to-back grief. We know. I initially 2018 I lost my dad in January of 2018, who was the biggest supporter and hero in my life. So that was a journey all in itself. A very unfortunate incident happened very shortly after that, less than 30 days after that, where I lost my husband, and that was just a tragic event all in itself. But dealing with the grief, if I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think that probably for the first, 4 or 5 years of this grieving process, I don't think I truly dealt with it. And I think a lot of people have grief or experience grief probably have some similarities there, because it's easier not to deal with it. It's easier just to keep moving and keep busy and move on, and so that way you don't have time to think, and you don't have time to really grieve and be upset or be hurt, or just you don't deal with it. And I think that was probably my first experience with grief, was I'm not going to deal with it. Even though it did happen, you don't want to deal with it. And that's just the reality of things. And it probably wasn't until maybe 2 years ago where I finally hit a concrete wall and said, you know what, I think I have to deal with this. It's not going away, but I think there's cycles, of it. You have ups where, life goes on and I'm going to be okay. I was there for, several years, and that's just what it was going to be, because we don't know any different than to move on. And then we had, downs where, oh my God, I'm by myself, or I'm sad this person isn't here. What do I do with myself? And so I don't want to sound cliche, but then you have a pity party for yourself, right? And I had many of those. And then you kind of go back up. So when I say it's like a roller coaster, that's truly, what I think it's been. And I'll just say this because I mentioned you in this journey, but I can remember and recall having readings with you, and those readings, I would kind of ask the same question over and over again. Tika, what do I need to do to, move on with my life? What do I need to do? Like, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do? And, you kept giving me the same answers. It never changed. And I think I even communicated that with you one time, like, I don't know what else to do. Like, what am I not doing? You're telling me that I need to let go and I need to, do these things. And I have. And again, it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I realized that, no, you have not. You have not let go. You have not dealt with those things. And so, again, I want to say thank you for that, because I didn't understand what those messages meant. And they were the same over and over and over again. And when I finally realized that's what it was, is that I had to deal with this. I had to deal with these emotions. I had to deal with the fact that I was angry. I was mad because, I went on day-to-day life like, no, I'm not mad. I'm not upset with him for leaving. I'm not angry. I'm not sad. the reality is, yeah, I was.
Right, right. And I think I was looking over the 5 stages of grief, right? I think they have 7 total, but we deal with denial, anger, bargaining, depression. I think depression is probably the biggest one. I can relate to how you said you didn't deal with it for a while. It was about 10 years before I actually faced the grief of losing my mother. I just went to work the day of her services. I was working night shift back then, so I just went to work, and that was my life. And then one day it just all hit me all at once, and I just poured out tears and actually had to face with the emotion that I had tucked away and just suppressed. So I think that's one of the things that how most people cope is they do something else to, avoid dealing with the emotions. So I'm glad to hear that you finally were able to accept those messages that came from behind the veil and do the work.
Yes, yes. And for a long time, that was the best way to deal with it was, well, if I just keep moving. And, people used to say to me, and because you were around during that time, but people would say, like, Nat, sit down. You don't have to always be going. You don't always have to be doing. You don't always have to be. And it was like, well, yeah, I do. Because if I don't, then I'm going to sit and I'm going to think and I'm going to, I'm going to go through these shoulda, coulda, woulda, and what if, and I should have did this and I could have just did that. And, for a long time, I thought, obviously my dad passing away was not preventable. That was, he passed away from cancer. So it was inevitable. We knew that was happening. Nothing truly prepares you for it because, again, that was a huge piece of my world gone. But at least you get some comfort in knowing that, the end of the road is coming and it's coming. So you can sort of emotionally prepare for that in some way. With my husband, it was because it was, immediate, instant, a turn of events, just night and day. One day, I had somebody I was with for 26 years, and the next day I woke up and I had nothing.
Yeah.
So I, like you, when you said you went to work, you did this, I went back to work and, I bought another house and I moved my entire family, and it was just event after another, just going and going and going. So there was really no time to think about what actually happened or how I actually felt about that. Another perspective I want to throw in is because, like you, I have children. And so, my children were older. I had a grandchild. I had, my son was still in high school. So it was a big transitioning point for him. So I kind of felt like, how can I deal with this and put on this happy face for them? Because, right, if they don't see me okay, they're not going to be okay, right? Because, we're the foundation. So if I break down and I cry and I, go and hide into a corner and don't come out for another week, what are they going to think of me and how are they going to move on from this? And so it was kind of like, I don't want to say my feelings got put on the back burner because of theirs, but in a sense, that really is, what happens when you have children involved and you're dealing with grief. And when you're responsible for, or just situations in general that you're responsible for, I was the hub of, taking care, making sure everyone's needs were met, making sure everything went the way it went. So it was a catastrophic event for me to have to change everything up. And when you say, the stages of grief, girl, I've experienced all of them. And I'm sure anybody who deals with grief, can relate to that because you go through so many different phases. It's, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. And then it's no, like that. No, I'm not going to be okay. No, I am going to be okay. And then you're angry and you're hurt. And, there were times that I would just, it's funny because some people used to make comments to me and say like, the crazy thing is you don't seem sad at all. You seem just like, look at you, you're out here living life, just doing, and it's like, well, yeah, that is what you see.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because that's who I've been taught to be as a person, right? I've always been told you don't let people see you cry. That shows your vulnerability. Yeah, do that. You don't let people your emotions. That's showing your cards, right? You don't do that. So, I would come in my room and I would cry for hours and hours and hours, and only yeah, I knew that, because then I would come out and I'm happy with that again, and you would never know any different. And that's what I mean when I say that I don't think I truly did, because I feel like I have so many, and I don't want to say personalities to entertain, but in a sense, that is what I felt like, because there were so many people that still relied on me for things. I still had children that I had to take care of. I had my mother that I now had to take care of, still dealing with. So it was like I didn't have really the opportunity to deal with it. And it wasn't until I realized that, you know what, I have to think about me. Like, there is life for me still. There is things that I still should be able to do, even though I have all these responsibilities still. And I had to come to terms with the fact that, you know, I am angry that other people, you know, have their dad still. I am angry that, you know, my husband just, you know, destroyed, you know, the life as we knew it for me and my kids. Like, I am angry at those things, and that's okay. And people, you know, it's fair for people to know that it's okay for you to be angry.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that, facing those emotions. And, that happens quite often. I don't know why the divine does that, but it's typically the person who's closest to the loss who is generally having to put a mask on their face and shoulder everything and, be the strong one when they're the one who needs to break down the most. I see that time and time and time again. And I kind of want to piggyback a little bit off of your experience and say that, in dealing with my own grief, yes, I've had to be the strong one, but I did have an experience with my mother. She lost her father, my grandfather. I think I was about 4 or 5, I was turning 5 years old. He passed away on Thanksgiving, and she didn't recover from that. So, and I watched her grieve. And the thing about it is that I think I didn't research this, but I want to do it. I should have done it before we got on, because I believe there is a way that people inherit other people's grief. The reason why I say that is because, again, my grandfather died on Thanksgiving. At 4 or 5, I didn't realize that it was Thanksgiving the day he died. But later on, I found that out, right? And so at the anniversaries, my mother had the drapes pulled. She was crawled in bed. She was depressed. She didn't really recover from the loss of her father because, like you, that was her everything. That was her support. And so I watched her grieve in that manner. And then, a few years later, probably I spent about maybe 3 or 4 years with her every anniversary. This was her process. I don't even remember if we ever even ate Thanksgiving dinner. Of course she fed me, but she didn't do the whole Thanksgiving dinner thing. So fast forward, and as an adult, I know that plenty of family members might watch this and say, yeah, that's true. I like to have Thanksgiving dinner. I love to cook it, but I like to stay at home with my drapes pulled with my children. So that's an inherited grief. So kudos to you, big, big kudos to you for making sure that you didn't leave that impression with your children who were also grieving in their own way, but you would still show up for them, because it takes a whole lot for someone whose heart is shattered to still show up with that smiling face and be the strength for others when they really need to just break down.
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely. And just it's funny, not funny, it's ironic that you mentioned, that your grandfather passed away on Thanksgiving, because till this day, Thanksgiving it's always been my favorite holiday, and it's been my favorite holiday because it was my dad's favorite holiday. It was my dad's favorite holiday because that's the one time everybody got together. It was a family. That's when you shared love. It wasn't about Christmas. It wasn't gifts. It wasn't, there's nothing involved other than time, good sharing, laugh, good energy. And Thanksgiving has always been important to me because of that. And so when my dad passed away, I kind of took that torch and, became okay, we're going to have Thanksgiving here now. And it was important for me to have all of our family together because of that. So we inherit a lot of things, good and bad. Like you said, grief is one of those. But I think we have to take a stand and at some point say, I don't want grief to control me. I don't want those things to control, how I feel or how I see my future or who I am as a person. And I think the way to really do that is to accept grief and to deal with it and to understand that nobody can tell you the right way to deal with it, right? Because you get that a lot. They were like, oh, I can't believe you did this, or I can't believe you did that. And, I wouldn't have did that. Well, no, that's not true, because you don't know, because you're not me and you haven't experienced what I experienced. But you get that a lot. So, I just hope that anybody who is dealing with grief from past tense or future, whatever comes, take some time to think about it yourself and how it truly is impacting you and how you want it to impact you. Because, right, it's never going to go away. It never goes away. I mean, I don't believe that. I 100% don't believe that at all.
Yeah, somebody made that up. That's not true. Time does not heal all.
Time does not heal all. What time does is it gives us the luxury of having time to understand and to deal with what we have going on. But it's certainly, till this day, my heart is broken. I mean, that's never going to change. It's going to be like that no matter what, because that was a huge piece of my heart gone. So I'll never get that back. You know what I mean? I'm very happy now. I'm in a relationship now. I'm with someone that I love. He treats me very well. We're very happy together. But that piece of my heart will always be gone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And yeah, that a lot of people who deal with grief maybe should understand that that's okay. It's okay. It's to feel that way and to still have good and bad days, because till this day, I still have good and bad days, based on those events and what's happened and how I feel. But at the same time, I recognize that I'm responsible for my feelings, not anybody else. It took me a while to get there. You know what I mean? It took me a while to even really move on with my life and to say, that I do deserve to still live and I do deserve to still, move on and to do things. And I can have those things while still loving someone who's not here, or still having those feelings, that I have still. I can still live and be me. I just had to deal with what I was feeling internally.
Right. So I have a question for you for some transparency, if you feel like sharing. Do you think that at any point during your grieving that you exhibited destructive behavior towards yourself or anyone else? For me, I can say, yes. Yes, I did. I became angry, rage was a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say in a couple of ways, because, it's like I said, I was constantly going. And I don't want to say that I was dependent on certain things, but there were certain things that I did in my life that allowed me to not deal with how I was truly feeling. And I was okay with that, even if it was detrimental to my health, if it was not the best decision, if I was, doing things I shouldn't be doing, it was okay. And then, the flip side of that was, well, why can't I do it? This person did it and they get to do what they want to do, and they, they live their life, and they, so it was like, I don't care. What's the worst that can happen? I've already been through the worst. What's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean? So I went through a point where it was like, nothing can hurt me because I've already hit rock bottom, right?
Right.
I'm crushed. Right. There's nothing that anyone can do or say to me that's going to hurt me. Like, there is no other hurt that you can give me. And don't get me wrong, I still kind of feel that way today. But the flip side of that is I feel like I pushed a lot of blessings away that I probably could have had a lot sooner had I not had that feeling, because I did feel like, well, I'm grieving this, and, well, if this can happen, I don't want to feel like that again, right? I don't want to get my heart broken again. I don't want to be upset again. I don't want to argue with somebody again. I don't want to yell with somebody again. I don't want to give somebody an opportunity to leave me again, right? I mean, it was so bad, I didn't even want an animal anymore, because I don't want to give anything or anyone the opportunity to hurt me again, right? Because I don't ever want to again. And by doing that, we block a lot of blessings. And just to go back to your readings again, I felt like that's what you were trying to tell me was have to let those things go so other things can come in and you. And I didn't do that because that's how I felt was I'm not putting myself out there for something to hurt me again. Whether it's a person, place, thing, I don't care what it is. I don't want to deal with anything that's going to hurt me. I don't want to give that opportunity because I don't want to feel it. And that was detrimental to myself. And I didn't realize that at that time. But now that I'm a different person and, live the life that I live now, I recognize that. And I know that I probably could have had this a lot sooner had I acknowledged that.
Yeah, we do. We numb ourselves in different ways. We set up boundaries. We don't want anybody else to come in and put us in that predicament or put us in that position again. So I definitely can relate to that. And I'm so thankful that you were able to share that experience. Like we said, time does not heal all. And one of the biggest things that I learned in my spiritual practice, because there was a season, which included yourself, where quite a few people were coming through grieving. Death is a part of life, and um, people are dying every day, right? And sometimes we just lose a good friend, but when we lose that person who was our everything, who was our heart, it can take a real big toll. It shifts the trajectory of your entire life. And what I had to learn in my spiritual practice is that you got to give people their space to grieve. Like there is no, 30 days and you should feel better. No, sometimes it takes years and sometimes you never heal from it. It just, you just keep going on with life and every day and every minute gets easier. So that was something that I really came into a better understanding that you can't put a time on how long it's going to take someone to grieve their lost loved one. And I can't thank you enough for allowing me to be a part of that journey because that I learned a lot out of it as well. Is there kind of look at my notes, is there anything else you want to share about your experience or something that you would want to leave for others that are experiencing this? Like I said, the world every day somebody is dying. So somebody might need to hear this and be uplifted during their time of bereavement. What would you want to leave with them?
I would just want to say if I could give, any advice would be to take the time that is needed for yourself. Um, Acknowledge and recognize that you do need that time. It's required. I mean, I really think it is a requirement. Don't cheat yourself. Um, but also don't do don't do something just because you think that's what you should be doing. Truly what you want to do, what you feel is best for yourself. And I think, um, that's probably one of the things that we're all guilty of is, people pleasing. And we do what we think is best for others and what we think they want us to do or how they think we should react. And that's probably the biggest mistake is, think about number one, because number one is you. Because if you're not okay, nobody is okay, right? Nobody is responsible for you but you. So take that time. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to, make mistakes. It's okay to, like you said, live recklessly if that's, the point that you need. But just, don't let that be a forever thing. Don't let that be who you are. Don't let it consume you. Just take the time to deal with it. Just do some self-reflect and ask yourself, what is it that I need right now? Because nobody is going to be able to answer that for you. Only you can answer that for you.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I hope those who press play get something out of it and it can help heal them on their journey. If there's nothing else, I'm going to let you go.